It's Friday, November 1st, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start here. Some of the topics we're covering today. Google has officially purchased Fitbit for $2.1 billion. We'll walk through the details of what this could mean for the smartwatch competition with Apple. And we'll have a special edition of our Between the Streams segment today covering all the new shows from Apple TV Plus, His Dark Materials, and from HBO. And all kinds of things that are coming up this weekend. It's really going to be great. We've got some great guests on the show today, including Karsten Temme, the CEO and founder of Pivot, a company using technology to revolutionize agriculture. And we'll have the founder and CEO of The Hard Times joining us in our New York studio, Matt St. Combe. We'll be talking about The Onion for punk rock and their new The Hard Times, the First 40 Years book. All that and more on this edition of Digital Trends Live. And hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I want to thank everyone for joining us wherever you're watching. We do appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern, bringing you all kinds of tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more as we go through the show. And we are in the Samsung QLED 4K studio today. And I want to thank everyone for watching. So we're broadcasting on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So you can find us in a lot of different places, and that means you can drop in your comments and questions as we go throughout the show because this is interactive. We do want to know your opinions, but to start off, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Drew Prindle. Hello, Drew.
What up, Greg?
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
A lot of news breaking today. As usual in tech, sometimes it just comes really quick, and there's a lot that happened about 6 a.m. Pacific this morning ish. That's when we got the news that Google has purchased Fitbit.
Yeah, there were whispers about this yesterday. And then it happened, apparently.
Yeah, they had made an offer, which a lot of times you hear about some of these major tech companies, they'll throw offers to somebody.
And they're usually super lowball. It's just like, oh yeah, we'll give you $1 billion. Just come on.
Right, and then it never goes anywhere, or it'll be a long, long negotiation that'll happen for months. This moved fast.
Yeah.
Who knows how much was going on behind the scenes, but really just finding out about it earlier this week, the rumors that Google had made an offer to Fitbit, and then boom, they closed the deal already today. Yep. So it's pretty big. So details on the deal, $2.1 billion is what Google paid for Fitbit. Honestly, I kind of thought that was a lower number than
yes, that seems like a low number. Like, this reminds me of when Google bought Nest like 4 or 5 years ago, and they did that for like $3.2 billion. And Nest was making like smart smoke alarms and stuff like that. It seemed like they were a way smaller company than Fitbit is now.
Yeah.
So 2.1 million seems like a low number.
And just the name recognition of Fitbit, but maybe that also showcases how far the Apple Watch has come in taking away some of that business.
Yeah, I think the whole like wearables market has just gotten so like saturated at this point. Like back in the early, like a few years ago, Fitbit was on top of the game. Like they were the biggest name in wearables. They had all the best fitness trackers. But now there's a lot of new people in the game, and they might not be as valuable just as a result of that.
Right, that could be, and nor have the capital to really compete with some of these big companies like Apple that has, hundreds of billions of dollars in the bank.
Totally.
So Google, this is a very smart move on their part for a couple of reasons. I mean, Fitbit's hardware has been really good. It's always, I think, been right up there as far as that's concerned. Their software side, they may not have as much to invest as we were talking about before, and now with this Google capital that they're going to have, I mean, they could really maybe finally compete with Apple because Google hasn't been able to do it so far. Really, as big as the market is for smartwatches, I think the Apple Watch is, and I could be off a little bit on this, but I think it's about 46% of the market is all Apple Watch. So that's how dominant they've been in this category.
Yeah, I know like all of our guys who review wearable tech and smartwatches and stuff, every year they're just like, don't even bother with anything else. Just get the iWatch. If you're on the Apple ecosystem, it's by far the best thing that you can get. So.
Yeah, and they've been making a lot of advancements, too, in that health tech sector, and that's why this Fitbit acquisition is again, really smart, I think, by Google. You get the name recognition. It's probably going to go along the lines of what they've done with Nest. It'll be Google Fitbit, I'm going to guess. I mean, I don't know for sure. But
they'll change the branding for sure. Yeah. But, like, this is kind of like, when you hear like hipsters complaining in Portland, it's like one of our small microbreweries got bought by Budweiser. They're going to ruin everything. No, that's never what happens. Basically what happens is they just give more resources to the smaller company, and then they can just keep doing more of this stuff that they were good at before.
Yep, and then just expand it and bring it to more people. So that's what we're looking at right now. And then that's just some of the details that came out, some of the things that we've heard. So they do have a huge post. They said that Fitbit They also said this Fitbit health and wellness data will not be used for Google Ads. So just to try to assuage any concerns about privacy, that's what they're saying. Yeah, this is what they said. This is part of their statement. So we'll have to see where it goes on that. But it's definitely a huge story today with Google purchasing Fitbit, and we'll see where it goes. Pretty big. You can read all the details there at digitaltrends.com. All right, continuing on, we have some other breaking news today. Well, not necessarily breaking news, but definitely trending news. And it is kind of going back again. It's with the Motorola Razr, which is making a comeback only as an actual foldable phone. Well, foldable screen, we'll say. So it's still going to be allegedly going to be the foldable style phone that we all know from the old Razr
aesthetic.
It's got that Razr feel, only now with more screens. And
of course.
Yeah, and this is something Motorola has been teasing for a while. Now, these images aren't from Motorola. These are actually leaks that were put online by Evan Blass, so we can't say these are official, but they look pretty official. So this is, if this comes out, this is also kind of what we anticipated it to be. So again, looking like that classic Razr phone. Yeah. Did you ever have one of those?
I did not, actually. I was not cool enough to have one of those back when I was in high school.
Yeah, I was the same. Yeah.
So when you flip it open, the whole thing becomes a screen?
The whole thing.
There's no okay, I'm kind of into that.
So the whole thing is a screen. So it's just one screen. You don't have those pins in the middle of it breaking it up.
Honestly, you know what I want that for more than anything? I just want the ability to hang up with authority again. Like back in the good old days with flip phones, you could like slam them closed or flip them shut.
Right. I said sell.
Call was over.
Yeah.
Oh man, I want that back so bad.
Yeah, and then just to make the show of it too, of even flipping it open, like just a minute. Yeah, do that. Okay, now I want one too.
I'm into it.
So if it does work out like that, a couple of things that at least as far as these leaks are saying is that the screen would be foldable on the front. It'd also have a screen on the the main screen would be foldable. It also would have a screen on the front, which that's cool too.
Nice for like notifications and stuff.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it's compact.
Yeah.
Like if it folds down to like that size, I think that's pretty good.
Pocket size.
Yeah, pocket size phone.
All right.
I'm excited about it.
Listening.
I kind of am wanting it.
Do you know how much this thing is going to cost yet? Do we have any leaks on price or anything like that?
I don't have anything official on that, and that's where it's probably going to be a lot.
Yeah, anything with like a bendy screen on it, they're just like, well, pay us $1,000 for that, just for the bendy screen alone.
For the bendy screens, that's official terminology right there. Your bendy screens. A couple other things that they're saying is that we'll probably get the reveal on November 13th. That's when Motorola has an event scheduled. Okay. So that's probably where we're going to see it. Now, when it's going to come out, we don't know that either. Maybe by Christmas. Maybe this is something that could come out that early. We don't know about the cameras. So that's another thing where this could, I guess, in the foldable screen, in the bendy screen market, this could actually be a lot lower than what the Galaxy Fold is. I doubt it's going to cost as much as that, but I could still see it being very expensive.
I don't know. Moto's kind of made a name for itself with like budget phones over the past few years. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just came out swinging with like a pretty reasonably priced phone.
Well, I am definitely interested in it, and I would want to get one of these. Let's see here. I'm looking in the live chat. So we do broadcast live across a number of platforms, so that's what I want to remind everybody. I'm seeing Rick, no bendy for me, and seeing bendy screens has entered the chat. So there's a lot of bendy talk out there. So that is now coined.
It's the hottest thing in tech.
The hottest thing. Hottest thing. You seen these bendy screens? All right, so that is what we have on that. Let's continue on here on this Friday as we're taking a look at some trending news. And Drew, I'm glad you're in here for this, because this is something I feel like you would have some commentary on. It has to do with a banning of drones by the U.S. Department of the Interior. So here's what's U.S. Interior Department. So here's what's going on. 800 drones that they use have been now banned from use by them over security concerns. So these are DJI drones, multi-rotor drones that they use for dam inspections or military or forest, well, I mean, some military in that, but forest monitoring, land monitoring, different things like that. The industrial uses that they are having there for this department. And they're saying that they're concerned that information is being sent back to China via these drones and that they are banning the use of all 800. You cover a lot of drones.
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
I mean, honestly, this just seems more like China phobia. However, I will say this, like if you're going to be worried about any data getting sent back, you should probably be worried about like aerial photos of like critical infrastructure, like dams and power lines and like all of the stuff that the Department of the Interior is using these for.
Yeah.
So while I am generally against the whole just like, oh my God, it's from China, let's be afraid of it and ban it in the US. Like, there's a lot of hysteria around that I don't necessarily agree with, but I think in this case, an extra measure of caution is probably warranted.
So you think it's a good move on their part?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you better just know for sure. We don't want to be sending, like I said, images of critical infrastructure to, foreign governments without our knowledge.
I suppose that is kind of a prudent thing to do. I mean, some of the statements that have been made, DJI has said that they've been working with all kinds of different government agencies to ensure privacy, setting up separate data centers for that. So there's that side of it, what they call local data mode, to provide, in its own words, enhanced data privacy assurances for sensitive government and enterprise customers. This is what DJI is saying that they're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure, that's helpful, but how much can you really trust that? I think it's a good idea that they're doing their own independent testing and making absolutely sure before they move forward with this.
What drone? I mean, are there drones out there that you could use that don't have this much concern, or is this really a concern across the industry as a whole?
Yeah, potentially they could be using not just off-the-shelf ones, because a lot of these are coming from China and other countries that are just mass producing these drones.
Yeah.
But yeah, theoretically we could build our own.
Right. But right now they've got them.
That's going to be a lot of money. What was it? 800 drones?
800 drones, that are being used.
I guess that's not too much if you're talking about U.S. government budgets. They could probably just buy American.
Buy another 800 drones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's what's going on right now. So we'll see if this happens. If this becomes more widespread, maybe other departments pick this up. Right now, it's just the Department of the Interior that are doing this. So grounding 800 drones. You can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. Let us know what you think. And final thing here that we want to talk about, definitely some big news for a lot of people today. The television streaming wars now officially has another entrant, with Apple TV Plus launching today. So it is out there. It's $4.99 a month, and they've come out with quite a few shows to start off with. A movie is involved. Some of the television shows, just kind of walk through what some of them are. This one right here, or the morning show, which is going to be one of the big ones. Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, Reese Witherspoon, definitely a lot of stars, I will say.
Yeah.
That are involved in this.
They pulled out all the stops just to get some big names in.
Yeah, it really seems to be what they pivoted towards, is paying for the big names to be involved. Not a lot of content.
Yeah.
It's not a lot on there compared to other services.
But $4.99 a month?
$4.99 a month.
That's pretty reasonable, I think.
Well, let me ask you, are you going to subscribe to it?
No, probably not. I'm going to wait to hear if any of the shows are worthwhile.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I think the For All Mankind one looks interesting. Mm-hmm. Dickinson looks terrible to me. My personal opinion, I'm not going to, no, I can't handle it. We'll talk about that in between the streams, though. C looks, in my honest
That's the one
opinion,
with Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa, yeah. What do you think about it?
I don't know. I saw the trailer and it looked kind of cool. But
there's swords and stuff.
I don't know. I'll wait.
It's like Khal Drogo, in the forest.
Exactly.
I think that's kind of what it kind of looks like to me.
That was probably, they're just all right, here's what we want. Yeah. We want this guy, same character, different setting, go.
Here's the thing. You're in a forest.
Here's $1 billion.
Full of blind people. That's it. So definitely going to be huge. We just had her on the show actually last week, or earlier this week.
Who was that?
Or maybe it was end of last week. That's one of the actresses that's in For All Mankind.
Oh, right.
So yeah, she was on this show, this very show that you're watching right now. So anyway, Apple TV Plus. We're going to go into some more of the details for Between the Streams, which is coming up in about 20 minutes or so, where we'll walk through each one of these shows and some other things that are happening on HBO. But a lot to cover with that. That is what we're seeing with Apple TV Plus. And that is the opening news here. There is so much more coming on Digital Trends that we have to talk about. But first off, I want to say thank you to Drew.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. And we'll have you on next week because we're going to be talking about a few different things.
Yes, indeed. We got a couple big things coming up.
There it is. There's your tease. Bendy screens.
More bendy things.
More bendy things. All right. Like I said, Between the Streams is going to be coming up. We're going to have Luke Dormel's going to be joining the show. Up next, though, we have another segment of Work Life with Ciara Pressler. We're going to be in here and talking about that, walking through some great advice that we can all use. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
You want one?
It's 8:15 a.m.
It's 18-year-old Scott. If you want a promotion, you gotta earn it.
I love that movie, and that perfectly sums up what we're going to be talking about here today. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. It is time for Work Life with Ciara Pressler. Hello.
Hello, Greg. I'm back.
You're back.
Big topic today.
Huge topic. Before we even talk about that, happy birthday.
It's my birthday.
It's her birthday, so
Yeah.
come on, everybody. So let's see some happy birthdays in the chat.
Yeah.
All right, but we are talking about the topic today, and every time that you're in here, you know, we walk through something and you help guide us through this balance of work and life. And right now, it is what is your boss thinking? And that is something that we're going to be talking about here as we go through. So let's start this off. What exactly brought up this topic, I guess?
Well, I was talking to your boss, Greg, and he was.
What was he thinking?
Well, here I'm getting really excited about this. I want to clarify that I'm not going to talk about actual horrible bosses. Like, if you have a horrible boss, maybe it's time to start like browsing for a new job, because until that boss leaves, it might get real difficult.
Yeah.
What brought this on is that, you know, a lot of my clients are now bosses. They've started a company, they're hiring. We do some executive coaching at Pregame as well. And man, all different problems once you become the boss.
Yeah, I mean, just communicating and working with employees, I mean, or you know, your coworkers, or however that structure works, that's got to be a difficult thing to try to manage and work out.
Absolutely, and there's a huge problem when you go from being the executor to the manager, and
Right.
a lot of us never get trained for that, right?
Yeah.
We just all of a sudden have to go from doing the thing to managing the production of the thing, and it's an entirely different skill set. It's a lot of soft skills versus hard skills, and it requires a lot of emotional intelligence as well.
Yeah, to manage all of those different personalities. Yeah, I would imagine that's a lot. Yeah, you should try to work through. So what are some good steps that people should do?
Well, so first of all, if you become the boss, pay attention to that whole other skill set of the soft skills,
Yeah.
right? But what I want to focus on is if you are freaking out about your own boss, don't do it. First
Okay.
thing to know is your boss is human.
Okay.
I know it doesn't seem
What?
like it all the time. I know. It doesn't seem like it all the time, but your boss is human. Your boss has feelings. Your boss even has a life outside of work.
That's impossible.
Yes, so when you think they're worried about what you're doing, sometimes they're just worried about whether they're going to be able to pick up their kid after school.
Right.
Right.
So taking note of that and remembering that we're all human and we all have things going on
Yes.
in our lives, and sometimes we're maybe things get overlooked, or you're just concentrating on what's going on with yourself. So how do you break through that and try to figure this out?
Well, first thing to think about is you only have a small view of the company. You're only seeing a slice. Now, this is hard to admit, but when I was an employee, I might have been a little difficult, right? Because I was focused on my department. I was in marketing, and so I'm thinking about everything from a marketing point of view.
Yeah.
My boss had the view of the entire company, the whole ecosystem. So while it was on me to advocate for what I needed in my department, remember that your boss needs your input, but they're also taking into account everything else that's going on at the company, a lot of things that you just don't know about.
Yeah, there are a lot of decisions that have to be made, and everything has its piece to the puzzle, but remembering that it's a puzzle and you're one piece. Is that kind of what it is?
Exactly. And don't make it a worse puzzle,
Yeah.
right?
Don't try
make
to force
more
it in when it doesn't fit. Yeah.
Exactly. So the biggest thing is don't bring problems without bringing a potential solution.
Okay, that's some great advice.
Yeah.
So if you're going to approach them, be like, okay, here's what's going on. This is what I'm concerned about. Here's a possible solution to that.
And why?
Yeah.
This is my thinking behind it, so that you can get them on board with what you're bringing to the table.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's some really good advice. So walking through that, so remembering that they're human.
Yeah.
When you do come to them, make sure that you have a solution to whatever problem or whatever issue that you want to bring.
Right.
This is great stuff. What else should we do?
And to the degree that you can, try to factor in the other things happening at the company. There's other timelines, there's other departments. That's really important. And the other thing is, your boss wants you to be successful. It's not helping your boss for you to fail. So really, your boss wants you to succeed. And so that could be anything from owning your project, building autonomy, to something like take those vacation days so you can come back fresh and ready to work in your best creative self.
So for you, I want to look at it from another angle too, since you are a boss. What are things that you look at with employees approaching you? Like, what are things that you're concerned with that you see?
Well, so much of it is hiring, right?
Yeah.
And what really changed for me with hiring and then all the way over to the clients that we attract is I really got clear on my company values, which sounds a little woo, but it's really useful because your values dictate your culture.
Yeah.
And so hiring for people who have shared values or an investment and like that sense of excellence, of course, and that hustle, that's really important. Believe me, your boss knows if you're slacking at work. You're not hiding it. Like, your boss knows. And I've had bosses confide in me, half my team is really excellent and they're hustling and they're trying to build a better company. And the other half, like, they just care if there's snacks in the snack room. And like, man, you're dragging everybody down. Like, why not bring your A game?
Yeah. So, okay, that is a good point. So remember that out there if you're sitting there watching Netflix, on your screen. Although watching Digital Trends Live is very productive, so this is a good thing to do while you're at work. So definitely stick to that. We'll talk to your boss for you. Okay, so now that we've kind of seen these two sides, how does all this fit together?
Well, it's a team, right? Your boss is the coach, so your boss has to make that final call, but your boss is there to support you in that same way. Here I go again with the sports metaphors, so that you can play at your top level. So come in there, do your best, own up when you don't know quite what's going on or you need more input, but try to solve the problem as much as you can and be strategic about when you bring questions, about how often you ask for input so that you can be respecting your boss's time as well because your boss is juggling more balls than you are.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I think this is all good. So a lot of it seems to me boils down to respect. And understanding that you're dealing with another person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're humans even at work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we all have things that are outside of work, so understanding that ecosystem. Well, this is very valuable information.
I have one more important thing to say. This is a message to Snoop Dogg. You have a concert tonight in Lincoln City, Oregon, and I can't get tickets, and it's my birthday. So if you're out there, Snoop, I'm going to need you to get me into your show.
There it is. Special message from Ciara Pressler directly to Snoop Dogg. It's her birthday, Snoop Dogg.
Birthday, Snoop.
Come on. All right. There we go. I think clearly that'll work. So we'll get that through there. Well, Ciara, thank you so much.
You're so
Again,
welcome.
For everybody, where can they go to follow along with you?
Follow me at the Mayoress on all the socials or get your pro tips from Pregame. That's at Pregame Mag on Twitter and Insta.
There it is. And work-life segments are all on Digital Trends. We've had several of them. They're all great, so watch those. Great advice. It'll help you out. It's helped me out. I think it's fantastic. And Ciara is always here to help us. And that is what we do here at Digital Trends Live. We try to bring you information. We've got a lot more coming up. We're going to have Between the Streams on the way. We're going to have Luke Dormel on. We're going to talk about using LiDAR or covering the Earth with LiDAR to map it. He's going to explain that in a lot better way. But all of that is coming up here. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Good to know.
Just keep it in mind. That's
keep
all
it
I'm
in mind.
saying.
All right, don't startle
bring any
Greg.
zombie baby around me. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. It's Friday.
Yay.
And I'm Greg Nibbler, joined now by Adrian Warner.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Happy Friday.
You changed your hair from yesterday, but still, it looks great.
I really liked wearing your hairstyle yesterday. It was quite enjoyable to get in the head of Greg Nibbler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to watch Trends with Benefits in order to understand that. All right, let's do this. We're gonna talk about some comments that come through across our platforms because it's Friday. We're gonna do some Read 'em and Weep.
Yes.
This is where we take a look at some trending comments, some trending things that are going on in social media, and we take a look at some comments that have come through across our many platforms, and we will give you our opinions as we go through. Placebo, rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. I'm confused on this one. I don't understand.
Rabbit is a superstition found in Britain and North America wherein a person says or repeats the word rabbit, rabbits, and or white rabbits aloud upon waking up on the first day of the month to ensure good luck for the rest of it.
This I do know about because I know a couple of people that do it. I just completely forgot about it. Yeah, it's weird.
That's cute.
Yeah, you'll see people posting it. Now that you know this, in case you didn't know, you'll see people posting it like this on Twitter. They'll post it on Facebook. I don't quite understand it, but you know. Whatever.
Yeah, now does the good luck also work if you post it on social media?
Social media? Oh,
or
yeah.
does it only work if you say it out loud?
I think it counts just as well on
Okay,
social media.
great.
Yeah, so just make sure you post rabbit.
I'm all for bunnies.
Right, Great White Montauk. Shark, shark, rabbit, rabbit, a little leftover costume from my shenanigans last night. Happy November 1st, everybody. A rabbit shark, there it is.
It's pretty good.
It is. It's solid.
It's solid.
It's solid. Thank you, Shark Montauk.
I always appreciate an animal Twitter account.
Yes.
Like, just supremely. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Twitter accounts about animals are good too. The We Rate Dogs one.
We Rate Dogs is fantastic.
Yeah.
I follow a bird account about like following the birds of Central Park. It's
All right.
really entertaining.
All right.
Really well done.
There it is. Well, follow your favorite animal for this Friday here. Read 'em and Weep. This is where we take a look at what's coming through across our platforms and across the internet. And more rabbit, rabbit, rabbit.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Donnie Darko stuff.
Yeah, Donnie Darko. That is a very disturbing rabbit. Probably the most disturbing rabbit of all time, I would think.
Probably.
You think so? Yeah. I'm trying to think of one that's
Banicula is disturbing.
Banicula?
Don't you remember Banicula?
Yes,
the beloved
that's right.
children's book?
Yes, I did. And I read those ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that one's, pretty scary. Although this,
This
Donnie
is
Darko.
a little creepier.
5, 4, yeah. What is it? 5 days. That's enough of that. Well, let's move on from that.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you for saying that.
B.A. Lacham, based on what evidence? Oh, this is regarding the U.S. Interior Department grounds. Sorry, this
800
text,
drones.
800 drones.
Yeah.
All right. Based on what evidence? No, not because dogs spoke to you or your gut. Actual, verifiable, empirical, and it spells out evidence. This is
FFS.
get these delusional conspiracy theorists.
Teleological. Out of decision making. Okay, there's a
This
lot
is
that's unraveling
nonsense.
there. There's a lot that's happening right there. So we just talked about this actually in the at the top of the show, talking about our news with 800 drones being grounded, which is true.
Yes.
The Department of the Interior grounded 800 drones over the idea that the government of China may be getting information from them. And our own Drew Prindle said it's probably a prudent decision.
Okay.
Because they're being used to like film dams.
If Prindle says it's prudent.
Old
then
Prudent Prindle.
Old Prudent Prindle.
Old Prudent
I
Prindle,
trust him.
yeah, he said that it's probably a good idea. Although I would like to see him speak to B.A. Lacham
Yeah.
about this.
Balloon
That's a lot going on.
There's a lot of.
I have a suspicion that I wouldn't want to read a whole lot more tweets from this.
No,
person.
I don't
I'm going to
think I
guess
would
they're not
either.
all friendly. All right, why we love film. Regarding Apple AirPods Pro hands-on review, a huge shift for Apple. I literally just got a pair of the Gen 2 AirPods like 3 weeks ago. I was so mad when I woke up the other day and saw the ad for these.
Yep.
Yeah, although your Gen 2 ones are less expensive than these ones.
True, and
But yeah.
yeah, I mean, and probably won't get that gross yellow appearance at the end of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the new ones definitely look better. They're like $50 more. But the Apple AirPod Pros, we have the reviews up right there.
Keep your receipts.
Yeah, keep
Why
your
we love
receipts. That's
film.
good. Can you return? Do you get used earbuds? That seems kind of weird.
I would imagine you'd still be able to return them, but they probably wouldn't resell them.
I don't know. Previously worn in someone else's ears. I don't know if I really want that.
I wouldn't want that either.
No, I'm going to pass on that. At least not if you can't replace, especially
Hard
with the
pass.
AirPods. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's what people do. So good for you if that's what you're doing. But the new ones at least have the silicone tips.
All right, Preston Lee, regarding breaking, Twitter CEO bans all political ads. I did see this headline yesterday. After the first round on November 9th, then they'll forget and selectively enforce the policy next year when you've forgotten about it.
Well, maybe. I
mean, maybe, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good move.
I do too. I really do.
Why not? And I didn't realize, I found out about this today, that it's actually not that much income for them. The political ads don't
really amount to very much.
Yeah, it's like 0.5%.
I would imagine, yeah, because there has to be some sort of spending limit.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, yeah, maybe. I'm not sure how it works. But it was a smart move on Jack Dorsey's part. Mm-hmm. Also, big dig at Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, absolutely.
That I love.
I really appreciated that. They're like, you know what? We will ban political ads.
Yeah. Zuckerberg, your move. I love that kind of thing. So you can follow up on that, and he's got a whole list of tweets. We've got a whole write-up about it at Digital Trends that follows along with that. But that is Read 'em and Weep. Yes. That is where we take a look at some of these comments. So we have a lot more coming up here on the show. Up next, though, it's going to be Between the Streams.
I'm very thrilled.
With our very special guest today, Adrian. So we're going to be walking through what's going on Apple TV Plus. We're going to talk about some things on HBO, a new trailer, and Adrian's going to fill us in about a show on Netflix that we're going to talk about. It has to do with baking. All of that is coming up next. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, thank you everyone for watching. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're at. That way you get the notifications when we do go live. And that is every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, plus some other times. You want to know when those surprise times are. All right. I'm Greg Nibbler, here with our special guest, Adrian Warner.
I'm still here.
You're still here. It is Between the Streams.
Yay.
Now, Mr. Ryan Juanita is out on his walkabout around the world. We don't know where he is.
Yes, where he is, what adventures he's up to.
I heard he was farming in Madagascar was the last rumor that we heard.
I heard he was falconing in Qatar. So
he has a falcon now. So yeah, he's gonna have lots of stories when he comes back. But since he's gone, we have Adrian filling in here for Between the Streams, where we're gonna bring you up to date on some things that are going on in the world of movies and entertainment. And Apple TV Plus, to start off with, is definitely a big story.
Oh
today.
yeah, dropping an insane amount of content on November 1st. Today, literally today.
Today it's out there. So $4.99 a month. This is the latest entrant into the television streaming wars, and they've got some shows, and we want to talk about just a couple of those shows so that you know what's going on. The first one that's probably getting maybe the most attention is The Morning Show. And this is their take on a morning news team, and I actually read up a little bit on it as far as what it's about. So it stars Steve Carell, Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, and it focuses, I guess, a lot on Jennifer Aniston's character,
right?
As an on-air personality whose partner, Steve Carell, gets fired for sexual misconduct, and then it's following her. How do you handle it afterward?
Yeah, how do you handle it afterward, and how do you deal with incoming new talent that's kind of almost like surpassing you?
Yeah.
So it seems very, very topical.
Definitely.
It seems very heavily dramatic.
Yes. A lot of drama.
A lot of drama.
A lot of drama going on in there. And yeah, it's from what I've read, it's been mixed reviews. Some people say it's terrible. Some people say Jennifer Aniston's really great in it.
Yeah, it seems really well acted. I mean, by all of the people, it's like A-list all around.
Definitely A-list.
And even some really excellent supporting cast like Mark Duplass from The League, and so all around, I'm really interested in the people who are playing these characters. But none of the trailer made me want to learn more about these characters.
No, it's not enough for me to spend $4.99. I'll say that.
No,
not yet.
no.
I'm going to be waiting until I hear some more. But let's walk through a couple of the other ones. C is another one that's getting at least a lot of attention. And this is.
I loved what you said earlier, Khal Drogo in the forest.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. It's like, here's what we want, Jason Momoa. We want Khal Drogo, but we're going to put you in some more like drabby clothes and have you walk through a forest with a bunch of blind people. Can you do that? Yes. And Jason Momoa can do it.
Jason Momoa can walk through anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's all he's got to do: swing his sword around and hit. But that's what this is about. It's set somewhere in the future where disease has taken away the sight of pretty much everybody. But the people that can see are evil.
Right. Yeah. So it's very it's kind of like futuristic post-apocalypse where like the remaining people who have not been wiped out by this disease have formed kind of like a tribal society, and it sounds like there's a couple kids that are born with the ability to see, and so everybody perceives them as evil. And I was noticing, I was like, it's not a fantasy show if it doesn't have a CGI eagle flying in at the beginning.
Yes. That is 100%. So they knocked that out. There he is, standing over a rock in the forest, Khal Drogoing it up. I mean, that's Khal Drogo. The one question I have is, and I'm sure they maybe answer this, but how are they going to know you can see? Like, how do they know?
Well,
couldn't you just fake it?
That's true. I
mean,
if you can see, you can, kind of.
Right.
And how can anybody who can't see know that somebody else can see?
Exactly.
There's a lot of plot holes that are, I'm questioning,
we don't know.
to be filled in. Yeah, hopefully they are filled in. It looks like a really beautiful, well-designed show, but I don't think I really want to tune in to see a bunch of people fumbling around touching things for.
We'll have to see how it all works out. But that's C. That's another one of the ones that's going to be on there. And again, just walking through AppleTV Plus, and then we've got a few other ones that we just want to bring up that you can watch as well. But another one is Dickinson. This is one that is out, and for me, the description, it's Haley Steinfeld who's in it, playing Emily Dixon in the 1850s, but they all speak with modern language.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit. It's Emily Dickinson meets Gossip Girl is kind of the spin that I got.
Yeah.
So like everybody speaks with modern language, kind of acts with modern language. If you're watching right now, you can see in the trailer that they kind of like, start to do some like modern dancing and things like that, acting like modern teens. I don't know how I feel about this.
Hard pass. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be honest.
I'm also like, I really just like Emily Dickinson's poetry. I'm not a huge reader of poetry, but it just seems like such a bizarre take.
It's a weird one.
On such an important historical character.
But they're taking their chances.
They're taking their chances.
Throwing out something different.
Yeah.
So this is Apple TV Plus. So we've walked through 3 of them. We'll give you one more.
One more. It's already been renewed. It's called For All Mankind, and I guess it's a take on what if the space race continued after the landing on the moon in the 1960s. So.
Well, except in this though, the Soviets landed instead of the US.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I couldn't quite get that from the trailer. I was like, who?
Right.
They said that the Soviets did, but I was like, because we all know the actual narrative, I think I just couldn't wrap my mind around that. So I think that's a very interesting take if you're looking to do kind of like a sci-fi retake of history.
Yeah, this one does seem interesting to me. Of all of them, it's the one I would probably watch. We did have 3 of the cast members actually on Digital Trends Live last Friday, so we've got that up as well. You can a great interview with them.
It looks like there's some really interesting people helping in making this. People from Battlestar Galactica and other really important sci-fi, heavily lauded series. So
this could be the one to me that could be the actual something that I think could have more widespread appreciation beyond the other ones. But that's what we're looking at. So that's just some of Apple TV Plus. There's not a lot more than that, but you can read it all at digitaltrends.com. And they're going to be, of course, offering more and more content as they go through. But that's the latest entrant into the streaming wars. Let's go on to something you can watch this weekend on HBO. His Dark Materials.
Yeah, you guys already got to see a sneak preview of it, but it is coming out this Sunday on November 4th. It is an adaptation of the fantasy saga by Philip Pullman, and it's set in a world where every human has an animal companion that's kind of a representation of their soul called daemons, and it focuses on this young girl who finds herself kind of in this conflict between worlds in this fantasy realm, and it looks very, very cool.
Yeah, the visual effects are amazing. We actually had also on Digital Trends Live one of the visual effects experts who worked on this, and it's really interesting to know how much went into it to try to bring that to life, because there's some heavy fans of the book.
Yes.
That the thing is, when you're bringing something like this to life, you're going to have a lot of criticism, and if you don't do it just right, people are just not going to buy into it.
It has a really award-winning producer behind it who helped work on these adaptations, and I'm sorry because I don't have her name in front of me, but I was listening to the NPR interview with her, and she basically rebooted Doctor Who, and she was behind Succession, which has been very, very successful.
Yes.
So she's really, like, I think this will be kind of a test to see if people like the adaptation, because it's always really tough to take beloved books and put them on screen.
Yeah, Rick Marshall, our reviewer, really loved it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he was really into it. So that's going to be premiering this weekend. So November 4th is when you can start watching that. So that's His Dark Materials. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
And then we got a trailer. So moving on to a couple other things here, just to wrap up and let you know some of the things that are going on in the world of movies and entertainment to talk about. So The Witcher. This one's been pretty highly anticipated. Talk about some big fans of The Witcher. And originally, a lot of people know it from the video game, but it actually is a series of books.
Correct. Yeah.
There's like 8 or 9 books in this series. I don't even know how many.
It's like the books take place, and then I think the video games pick up afterwards.
Okay, so that's how the timeline works. So this is with Henry Cavill, and we've seen images of him before. He does look just like the character in the video game.
It's eerie, yeah.
Yeah, like uncanny. Like they picked the right guy for this. But is it going to work out? Is this going to be like Netflix's Game of Thrones? And I know we use that term a lot, like this, whose Game of Thrones is it? But is that what they're going to get here? Because it's those big fantasy hits. They're either going to be really good or they're just going to be terrible.
Yeah, they're just going to fall flat. This looks very intriguing, I have to say. Very beautiful man at the helm. So I was like, sign me up.
So I already have Adrian in, and I think they knew what they were doing there.
I think they really did.
So that is The Witcher, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I will definitely be watching that. So the trailer came out December 20th is when this will debut on Netflix. Big budget fantasy series, and they haven't really had one of those for.
Yeah, I don't know if they have. Really. I think they have in the past, and I can't remember what it was, but just kind of the same thing, kind of flopped. They put out like a season or two, and it was very Game of Thronesy. But yeah, exactly like you said, who will take the throne after Game of Thrones?
Right. So this is Netflix's move with The Witcher. So we'll have to see that when it comes out December 20th. And the final thing, speaking of Netflix, and this is something I'm going to have Adrian explain.
Yes, so if you watch Great British Baking Show on Netflix, you know that tonight is when they are going to, or today is when they're going to release the finale of the 10th season.
Okay.
This is something I recommend watching if you're not already a fan, because it is for everyone. It is a reality series that focuses around amateur baking, and so every episode they have 3 different challenges that they put the bakers up against, having them bake things that no one has ever heard of before, like really, really insane, intricate pastries and cakes, and so there's like some architectural and sculptural elements to it, but there's also a lot of like technicality, and so it's really, really fun to watch. It's very, very wholesome.
Okay, so each week it's 3 different people.
Each week is 3 different challenges. They start with 12 people.
Gotcha. Okay.
Every season, and then they whittle it down to 3 at the finale, and then one gets crowned the Great British
Baker?
Baker. I'm actually not sure what the winner is called. I think they're just called the winner. So tonight we'll find out. Actually, I already found out because I accidentally went on the internet. Don't go on the internet.
Don't go on the internet, except for Digital Trends. That's
Except for Digital Trends. That's the only place to go.
We won't spoil it for you.
We won't spoil it for you. It airs on BBC, but in America you can watch it on Netflix. And like I said, it's the 10th season, so if you haven't started it yet, there's a lot to binge.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fantastic. So that is something you can watch this weekend, and that's what we like to bring you here with Between the Streams. Adrian, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And we have more coming up. So here's what's going to be happening next. We've got Luke Dormel is going to be joining us. We have Tech Briefs, which is coming up in just a little bit as well, with Ken Yeung to bring you up to date on all the stuff that's happened in the world of tech over this last week. There's a lot. But up next, we're going to talk about the Earth and using LiDAR to map it and what this whole plan is. Luke is going to walk us through the entire thing, so stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, thanks for joining us. We have so much fun with this show. I want you to hit subscribe. I want you to share the show, let other people know about it, and let us know your comments as we go through, because we do want to hear what you have to say as well. And this is one of my favorite segments here on the show. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined now by Luke Dormel, where we get to talk about some of the insane things that Luke is writing about for Digital Trends. If you follow along, it's always interesting. And this topic alone is pretty fascinating, and it has to do with mapping the Earth and LiDAR. Luke, can you please walk us through this?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. From the Great British Baking Show to the Great British Tech Correspondent.
I was going to make that transition, but I didn't know if I should or not. All right, perfect.
Fantastic. So yeah, this is a really fascinating story. Just to give a little bit of background, a lot of people watching this will be familiar with LiDAR, predominantly as the technology which helps self-driving cars to see. LiDAR is sort of a little bit like radar or sonar, except that it uses bounced laser beams which are pulsed very, very quickly to help it make sense of the world around it. So basically it sends out light, and then based on how long it takes for it to bounce back, it's able to sort of build up a three-dimensional image of the world. And as I say, most of the time people will know this in the context of self-driving cars, but there's sort of this parallel field which has been using LiDAR as well over the last few years in quite interesting ways. And that's sort of the archaeological world. So a few years ago, for example, a research project managed to discover a long-lost city by using a LiDAR detector underneath a helicopter. And so there are all of these sorts of fascinating kind of LiDAR-based research projects. And this is probably the most ambitious one that you can possibly imagine, because the idea is to use LiDAR to build up a three-dimensional sort of representation, not just of the world around us, but literally of the entire Earth. So you can't really kind of get much bigger than that. But it's kind of a fascinating, very ambitious project. And the idea really is to try and build, as I say, a sort of a record really of how the Earth stands in sort of, 2019 or 2020 or whenever this project is kind of completed. So a really, really kind of interesting and potentially kind of groundbreaking project.
Yeah, I have a few questions, just understanding that. So walking through a few questions about this. Talking about LiDAR, and you mentioned some of the different fields that it has been used in before. Like, what are some of the big discoveries that have happened because of using LiDAR in mapping, something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big one that I'm most familiar with in terms of something that I covered was in summer 2016. It was used to create a map of a sort of long lost city, which was hidden beneath jungle cover in Cambodia. And this was something that no one had been able to kind of explore. Very difficult area to explore, but by positioning a LiDAR sensor on the underside of a helicopter, they were able to kind of fly over this area and build up this kind of really extraordinarily kind of detailed look at this kind of city, which was beneath and sort of, I suppose, beneath cover like sort of, tree cover and vegetation and all of these things, which made it incredibly difficult to not only discover, but to kind of go and explore. And so really it sort of builds on research like that. I know there have been other sort of initiatives as well, where you sort of just use LiDAR detectors. You can fly over something, and rather than having to do ground-based surveys, you can literally fly over something a few times and you can build up a really detailed kind of picture of it. The difference, and it's important to kind of stress this, the difference between something like this and, let's say, Google Earth. We're used to the idea of high resolution images, which you can take now from, you have amazing satellite imagery. Every year there are advances in satellite imagery. But what you can do with this is you're not just building up a flat image of something, you're actually building up sort of a three-dimensional kind of point cloud, I think they refer to it as. So it really is a three-dimensional image of things where you're able to detect depth. And that makes it a really, really useful tool for being able to kind of carry out comprehensive mapping, not just one image of something, but actually a sort of a three-dimensional representation. So that's kind of why this project is so exciting.
Well, and talking about that, the discovery side of it, that's amazing, because who knows what we would find out or what would be revealed by that you can't tell from the ground or you can't tell from the normal imagery that we have right now. So that's an exciting part of it. Now, for them who are doing this, what are some of the different ramifications and uses that they're looking for?
For sure. So this was carried out this project, which is called the Earth Archive, was organized by two professors at Colorado State University, Dr. Chris Fisher and geographer Steve Leitz. And Chris Fisher comes from archaeology. Steve Leitz comes from the world of geography. So they kind of come from different practices. So already you can see from that they're maybe looking to get different things out of this. What really kind of brought them together was a mutual concern about climate change, the fact that the world is changing very rapidly, and that it would be interesting to have a record of the Earth today, so that it could be used by researchers in a number of different ways. So I've sort of written down a couple of these ways that it could be used. Archaeologists might want to use it, as we talked about earlier with that example from a couple of years ago. Archaeologists might want to use this record to search for undocumented settlements. Ecologists could use it to look at things like kind of forestry compositions. Geologists could use it to look at things like hydrology and faults and disturbances. So the idea really is to kind of build this amazing research tool and then open it up, open source it to researchers or anyone else who is interested in it, so that they could use it however they wanted. One of the insights that Dr. Fisher, who was one of the people behind it, shared with me when I was writing the article, was that as part of his work, he used LiDAR quite regularly to sort of build up, as I say, these kind of three-dimensional models. And he became aware that when he was kind of scraping through this data, trying to find the bits that were relevant to him and then discarding the rest, the parts that he was discarding, he thought, actually, this might be something that for someone in a different field would be really, really relevant. So why am I collecting this and just using it in, my narrow sphere of expertise, archaeology, when there are people who could really kind of benefit from this? So the idea is really to kind of build up this amazingly kind of detailed three-dimensional Google Earth and then open it up to whoever needs it. And in fact, the project long term, they then want to develop sort of AI tools, artificial intelligence tools, which would be able to maybe kind of look at this data and uncover things in this data that at the moment we don't even know that we necessarily need. It's very much at this stage just about creating an archive which could be available to whoever needs it.
That's really great that they're going for the open source model on it. I mean, that's incredible. With that amount of data, who would be storing this? So what are the actual plans, I guess, as far as how far out this could be and what the actual, activation of it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is, I guess, in some ways kind of the unknown element of this. They talked about some of the, I guess, the costs involved with this. They talked about that they might be able to map the Amazon for $15 million, which, again, for people watching this, probably sounds like a huge amount of money. Actually, for mapping an area of the Earth that size, it doesn't actually sound overly pricey, but they're reliant on donations for some of this. I think that they're going to get sort of research grants, hopefully, for some of this. So I suppose coming up with a timeline is a little bit difficult. They certainly weren't committing to, this isn't going to be something that's going to be completed within the next 6 months. But due to the timely kind of nature of what they're doing, they're both very concerned about how quickly the world's changing for all sorts of reasons. They want to get this done as soon as possible. But I imagine that we're talking about, maybe sort of half a decade or something like that, something in that sort of vicinity in terms of timeline. And then the storage of it, again, I'm not sure of who would be kind of hosting this data. It would be an extraordinarily kind of data intensive project, but I think that, again, they think this is something that's so important that, well, you can't really imagine a more important archiving task than archiving the world as it currently exists. And it's interesting because it seems to be one of a number of different initiatives, which I've certainly written about recently, people who are concerned about the way that the world's changing and feeling the need to come up with ways of archiving kind of life as we know it. So yeah. I imagine we'll see more of this sort of research.
Well, it's really fascinating, and the article is great. It goes into detail about what's going on with it, so I encourage everybody to go to digitaltrends.com and take a look at it. I love this idea. I want them to create it just so I can spend hours going over the map myself, just looking at it. It's fascinating stuff. Well, Luke, as always, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, Luke Dormel, check out all of his articles at Digital Trends. And we're going to go to a break because we have Ken Yeung from Flipboard, who's coming up for Tech Briefs, where we take a look at some of the biggest stories that have happened in tech and try to bring you up to date in 10 minutes. There's a lot that happened, so we'll recap it for you. Coming up next, stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler. It's Friday. It's time for Tech Briefs. And to do so, we of course have Ken Yeung from Flipboard joining right now. We're going to try to recap some of the biggest stories in tech in the last week, and there is a lot. Ken, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
And we've had breaking news today that we'll be talking about here during this segment too. But to start off, kind of going back in the week, there's been so many announcements when it comes to the television streaming wars, and we're going to talk about a couple of them. One, though, to start off with, that failed. We actually have finally somebody who's leaving the streaming war race, and that's Sony PlayStation Vue. I happen to be a Vue subscriber. Apparently, there's not that many of us, so it didn't work out very well. I liked the platform, but they decided they're going to bail out of it because of how expensive it's getting for all of that content. And you can understand why, now that you know that, seeing how much money is being spent on all these other services. Like, you have to spend a lot to get into these streaming wars, and HBO Max is the one that made some big announcements this week. What were some of the things that you were most excited about with it?
So HBO Max, look, we knew it was going to be priced at about $15. That's no big surprise. But of course, it's coming at a time when everybody and their uncle and their aunt is launching a streaming service. As you recall, last week I announced my streaming service called Ken Plus.
That's right.
That'll be coming out in 2020 sometime. Warner Media's HBO Max is launching in May. That's a little bit later than Disney and AppleTV Plus, which launched today. So look, they have a huge catalog of everything that's available on HBO Max. You have everything, all the stuff from HBO, and you're also going to have original content from any of the Warner Media catalog. More than 10,000 hours of content. That's what they're boasting. Plus original series from like prequels for Game of Thrones, Rick and Morty, obviously West Wing, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, those type of things. Friends will be on there as well. So this is going to be an extensive catalog. So I think in terms of what they have available in terms of their library compared to everyone else, HBO Max is probably going to do very well. It's very confusing though in terms of how you're going to be able to watch it. Some people will be able to get it for free, but there's obviously caveats in terms of, are you an AT&T Uverse subscriber? Are you using HBO through an AT&T provider? But you won't be able to get it right now if you are using a cable provider beyond AT&T. So if you're Comcast, you're out of luck. So, but there's some interesting stuff that's going on with HBO Max.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as far as the content, like you said, they've got some good stuff that's going to be on there. There's always the worry, I would think, for HBO, because they're using that HBO branded name. Right. And that we're kind of all used to. It's premium television shows. You know, some movies, but really it's the television shows that have always been really good. So you throw this into the mix now it's all just part of this massive HBO universe. You could start to water some of that down, but they're definitely, they're spending the money on it, so maybe that won't be as big of a concern, but they're kind of leveraging, I feel like, that HBO name to get people in. Oh, premium. But they are spending money for it, and there's a new Game of Thrones series, like we were saying before, House of the Dragon, which is going to be coming out. So that's what they're doing. So you have HBO Max. That's coming out later this year. Today, as you mentioned, Apple TV Plus is out. Definitely less expensive, but far less content. $4.99 a month. There's various bundle packs that are being thrown around out there. I think if you're a student, you have Apple Music, then you can get Apple TV Plus thrown in. I'm sure they're going to figure out some other ones. But right now, out today, a couple of big shows as far as they're concerned, at least big budget, because they're getting in some big stars. The Morning Show, Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, Reese Witherspoon, certainly a big name show. Whether it lasts or not, I don't know, but that seems to be what Apple TV Plus is really going for, is spending big money, getting big names, and then hoping, content. Sure, hopefully it works.
Well, of course, remember though that Apple is coming at it with no library whatsoever. Yeah. Now you look at everybody else; they have legacy shows that they can bank on. Even Disney, I mean, they can pull from ABC, ESPN, Disney. Even Warner Media has a whole bunch of them. Warner Media for HBO Max, they have a ton of original content, like stuff that have already pre-run. but they don't have a lot of that original stuff, like truly original, like created just for HBO Max right now, but they will. Now, if you look at Apple TV Plus, that's on the flip side. They're banking on creating original content themselves right from the get-go, because that's what they have to do. But you look at what with NBC Peacock, that's what when it launches, just reported today, that's actually going to it's reported that from CNBC that's going to be available for free. An ad-free version may be available for free for a lot more people beyond those that are Comcast subscribers and those that are cable subscribers. So, but NBC has a huge catalog as well that it can rely on versus Apple TV Plus.
Well, that's going to be interesting, to see with that. I hadn't even heard about that one. So there's so much that's happening going on with the television streaming wars, and this is what's just happened this week. So Apple TV Plus, like you said, with their original content, maybe they get some hits out of it, and that would certainly drive people to it. You have Disney Plus next week, which is what we're going to be talking about. Well, wait, next week? No, 2 weeks, November 12th. Forgot what day it was. It's coming up fast, though. So within 2 weeks, we'll have that. Disney. So much going on. So that's just our streaming TV war block. Let's talk a little bit about some hardware. Another big news, and continue on with Apple, making the surprise announcement of the AirPods Pro this week. We had heard rumors that maybe this would happen. There were previous rumors that it was going to be in the spring, but then, boom, they just brought it out, and here's your brand new AirPods, the AirPods Pro, definitely with some improvements over what the other ones had. From our reviews, just talking about them, because we've already got them, reviewed them. The sound is good. The waterproofing, something that a lot of people wanted with these Apple AirPods that wasn't previously there. I think the silicone tips to actually get that better noise canceling, that's a huge improvement. So far, I mean, the reviews are pretty great on what these are themselves. Are you an AirPods user?
No, I'm not. I'm an Android user, so AirPods don't necessarily work for me. But I guess the equivalent for me are the Samsung Galaxy earbuds, which aren't that bad. But look, I think everyone's Christmas list got a little bit longer now with the launch of these AirPods Pro, which is something that people want. It's more of a premium version. It's $250. It's available now. I think everyone wanted them. If beyond all the other things that you've named, it has noise cancellation. That's what everyone wants. That's what everyone's been looking forward to. I think there's been some question about in terms of how much can it be repaired? Should it get damaged? Of course, now the tips that come out where the microphone are, that is much shorter. So in case you drop it, there's a down, onto the subway track or whatever. It's going to be that much more difficult to grasp, to grab it and save it. So for $250, you got to be you got to be more careful with your AirPods, so you don't actually lose them and shell out another $250. But I think this is something, the reviews have been pretty good. You're right. It's water resistant, which means that if you want to do it, wear it more for exercise. But Apple advises you not to go swimming with it, so it's not IP68 resistant. It's similar to your iPhone. So don't take it out into the ocean and hope that you'll be able to listen to music underwater, because that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's also going to fall out if you go into the ocean with those two. But so at least, though, that's a step up. So $250. Check out all the reviews of that. We've got them at Digital Trends and Flipboard. You can read all about all of this. Last thing we want to do is just briefly touch on the big announcement today. And we had planned on actually talking about this as a rumor for next week, but it happened already. Google bought Fitbit. So this was another one of those things where we'd heard earlier this week that they'd made an offer. And a lot of times with those deals, somebody makes an offer, it's really low. There's a counter offer, it could go on for months, or nothing could come of it. But this actually went through. So it was $2.1 billion, I believe, that Google bought Fitbit, buying that name, buying the reputation, and buying some of that hardware to actually enter into the smartwatch race and compete with Apple, ostensibly, which is a big move.
Oh yeah, sure. I think everything comes back to Apple these days. I think all three of our stories today have come back to Apple. So why not this one? Look, Apple the Apple Watch is one of the top wearables in the market today, and Google has been trying to figure out what to do in their wearable space. They have a fitness software. They have their Fit. The Google Fit. They also have a health product. They also have Wear OS. So they have all of the software, but they need to find ways to make it work better with hardware. And look, Fitbit's watches are pretty cool. I believe their Versa has performed very well. So I think that who knows what's going to happen in terms of that integration. A lot of details have to be revealed. But I think this is going to be a compelling case in terms of seeing what Google can do with it. Google, if you recall, months ago, had bought Fossil's intellectual property when it comes to smartwatch technology. So this is only going to compound that. And of course, with the acquisition of Fitbit, Google also gets the technology from Pebble, which Fitbit bought about a couple of years ago. So I'm kind of interested to see how this works, because when it comes to Android, a lot of the wearables are kind of like very decentralized. It's very similar to like the Android smartphones. But so this is what maybe we might get like a Pixel smartwatch, which I'd be very interested to get, something that really makes all of our activity or fitness tracking and health information seamless. Interesting to note, in the press release that Fitbit produced following the acquisition, they said the data from Fitbit will not be used by Google in ads. So they sought to reassure consumers that, look, your data is not going to be monetized against.
Which is a good preemptive statement to say when it comes down to that, and I think they kind of need to say that too, just to alleviate any concerns. But it's I'm sure there's a lot more information that's going to be coming out. So Google buying Fitbit, and that's wrapping up some of the big stories in tech this week. There is always so much. Every week we try to keep you up to date. And if you're watching live on our video show on Digital Trends Live, I want to remind you there's a podcast version of this. So hit subscribe to that wherever you find podcasts. Go subscribe to Tech Briefs. And Ken, as always, thanks so much.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Subscribe to Ken Plus, coming soon. All right, let's do this. We got to get to a break. We have more coming up here on Digital Trends Live. So we've got Karsten Temme, who is the co-founder and CEO of Pivot Bio, coming up, and we're going to talk about using tech in agriculture to really streamline that process and actually do some amazing things with it. It's revolutionizing, according to them, agriculture and how it's done right now. So that's coming up. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, get the notifications when we go live. We like to keep you up to date on everything that's going on in technology. And we also like to talk about ways that technology is being used to improve ways that we've been previously doing things. And that's something we're going to talk about right now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Our guest is Karsten Temme, the CEO and co-founder of Pivot Bio. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Greg. Happy to chat with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this topic, and I want everybody to get kind of an even base to go off of. Can you talk about your company and co-founding it, and maybe what were the problems that you saw that you wanted to solve by creating this company?
Sure. So at Pivot, we make a probiotic that is a better way to get our crops nutrients, and it's a replacement for fertilizer. Something that I've been working on the problem for about 15 years now. What all of my graduate school research was focused on. And at the company, we've had the opportunity to take new discoveries from academia, translate them into products that change farmers' lives.
So talking about agriculture now and how it's done, you mentioned fertilizer. Is that the predominant way that we grow crops? How is that utilized right now? And what are some of the pitfalls of that?
Yeah, it's really the fuel for our food system. You can think of crops as being the modern versions of Ferraris, and they need some fuel in their gas tank, and that's what fertilizer does.
And right now, we use this a lot. It's chemically based, I'm assuming, the fertilizer right now. So what are some of the other issues that we're seeing, or some of the ramifications of using fertilizer? Are we overusing it? Does it do more damage to the environment? Can you just give us kind of a base layer there?
Definitely. It's, a lot of us have heard about having a carbon footprint. Well, nitrogen is the same way. There's a nitrogen footprint. And fertilizer is created in huge chemical factories, has emissions linked to its production, and using fertilizer is inefficient. So a huge amount of that nitrogen ends up polluting our waterways and our climate around us. And so we need a better. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say. So too much nitrogen causes a lot of damage in other ways.
Totally, and you can't grow a crop without it. So without fuel, we'd end up with half as much food on this planet.
So this is a big issue that needs to be tackled. So that's where we're at, as far as using these chemicals, the chemical fertilizers. So let's talk more about what you're using and what you've created and why that's different.
Yeah, back before we invented fertilizer, the microbes in the soil spoon-fed the plant every day. And it's something we didn't know about, that microbes existed 200 years ago. So what we've done is rediscovered these microbes that live naturally in the roots of a plant, and we've reawakened them. See, all that fertilizer put them into hibernation. So we've been able to reawaken nature's own solution for providing fuel to crops.
So interesting. So these microbes are already in the crops themselves, and it doesn't matter which crops. This is just any crop, any plant. This is in there, and you're just activating it.
Exactly. Every plant on this planet has microbes that live in and on its roots. Now, some crops, like legumes, think soybeans, they have a very close symbiosis with microbes, and they can do this already today. But all the other crops, the cereal crops like corn, wheat, and rice, they use the world's fertilizer, and all that fertilizer puts those microbes into hibernation.
So how is it that you're able to do this? How is it that you're able to activate this? And what would a typical farmer need to do in order to go this route?
Well, for a farmer, it's just something that they use our product at the same time they plant seeds.
Okay.
So plant a seed and put a little squirt of our microbes in that furrow along with the seed. And then nature takes its course. The reason that this is possible now is because it's the science has gotten to the point we understand about things like the human microbiome and the soil microbiome.
Interesting. Okay, so this sounds amazing as far as what you've created here. If this gets rid of this issue with fertilizers, it's really just putting that on there. Are there any side effects or anything else that would come along with this as far as switching to this style of things? Clearly, a lot less nitrogen. But what are any ramifications when it comes to this side?
Well, the ramification is for the fertilizer companies. Our product is going to eliminate 98.9% of all the emissions associated with using fertilizer. And it also makes a farmer's bottom line more profitable. So this last year, we had enormous amounts of rain throughout the Midwest. And that meant a lot of people's fertilizer got washed into the rivers and creating huge impacts on pollution in our waterways. So our microbes help eliminate that nitrogen loss, and all the farmers are seeing more bountiful, consistent yields. So that translates directly into more profit for their bottom line.
So where are we at right now as far as how has it been adopted? What does it look like, going forward a year or two? And where's the company at right now?
So we've just begun growing our footprint in the marketplace. Last year, we launched our product for the first time. And this year, we are racing to keep up with demand from farmers. There's such an amazing new generation of farmers plugged into technology, excited about using our product. And we're seeing demand across hundreds of thousands of acres throughout the Midwest.
This is pretty disruptive technology. What is that? You mentioned all of the fertilizer companies. What's the pushback been on that side?
We try to have a lot of open dialogue with all of those companies because in some ways we offer a lifeline and a pathway to a better future. The product that we're producing can significantly reduce their environmental footprint, but it also can end up being more profitable for a fertilizer company as well.
Nice. Well, Karsten, this is very fascinating stuff, and I want to say thank you very much for joining us here to talk about it. For people who want to learn more and utilize the product even, where can they go to do that?
Definitely. Get connected with us. Best place is always our website, pivotbio.com. And we'd love to connect, help spread the word, help get more farmers using our product, and really think about what it means to chip into the nitrogen footprint that we all have in the planet.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live to talk about this. Congratulations on your success, and looking forward to seeing this go out into the marketplace and make for a better environment.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. All right, so this is what the fun thing here on Digital Trends Live. We get to learn about new technologies and different ways that technology is being utilized. As we find out more, we can rethink what we're doing currently, and that's talking about agriculture on that side. Okay, so we're going to take a break. We have more Digital Trends Live. We're going to be heading to New York. We have Matt Sainecombe, the founder and CEO of The Hard Times. The Hard Times is hilarious. It's the onion for punk rock. You've probably seen some articles online, or at least I do in my social circles. I see their articles shared all the time. We're going to be talking to him. We're going to come back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. And we like to bring you great interviews here on the show. And I'll tell you this, I am a fan of The Hard Times. The Hard Times share such amazing articles. You probably know them as the onion for punk rock. It's a great site, and I find a lot of laughs off of it. But right now, we have the founder and CEO, Matt Sainecombe, and the editor-in-chief, Bill Conway, who are in our New York studio, standing by with John Velasco. I am looking forward to this. John, I'm going to hand it off to you. Take it away.
Thanks, Greg. Hi, everyone. So we're here in the New York studio. With me here to my left, we have two guys from The Hard Times. We have Matt Sainecombe, the founder and CEO, and we also have Bill Conway. So thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I know you guys have a book, so can you talk more about it and what The Hard Times is all about?
Yeah, so The Hard Times has been around for about 5 years, but this book, we say we've been around for 40, and we go through the history of punk and hardcore and have a whole bunch of satirical coverage in there. That's the first half of the book, and then the back half of the book is the greatest hits from our website so far.
So the 40 years, what time are we covering here specifically?
We set up the notion that we started as a print zine in 1976, and we have like clippings from those articles in the book, and then as the zine got bigger, we changed into like a glossy format in the 90s, almost like an alternative press sort of magazine into the 2000s, and then the internet collapses or the rise of the internet is when our print publication went under. So it's kind of chronicling a fake history as if we were a print publication from the 70s, and then reemerge as a digital platform.
This is the kind of book where you can pick it up and read any page and hopefully get a laugh, but you can also read it front to back cover, and there's a narrative arc about our magazine in there.
So what inspired you to make this book?
Well, we've been around for quite some time, and we have a lot of readers. They were actually asking for it very early on, probably about 6 months into our site. People were asking us for a book.
And also, like 6 months into the site, people were already saying, we liked your old stuff better, sort of thing. Like, oh, you guys were funnier 2 years ago. Like, we didn't exist 2 years ago, but thank you.
Yeah, so this is on punk time, so they asked us for the book about 4.5 years ago, and it came out October 29th, so you're welcome.
Perfect, yeah. Do you have any favorite parts of the book?
Do you have a favorite headline?
Well, as far as I like all the headlines, but I do like the narrative arc that we put in there, where there's a lot of like interstitial parts where it kind of just tells like the behind-the-scenes unknown story of the hard times, like Matt and I founding it with his brother, who ends up dying early on in the book in a freak accident. So just like the stories of how we evolved and our relationship together is very strained over the years as it goes on through the book.
And it is in real life, too. It's very hard sitting next to this man right now.
So we came in separate taxis over here because, and we actually had to be seated in separate rooms out in the waiting area because it's like...
it's like a Masvidal Diaz sort of deal.
Yeah.
So in the back of the book, there's a whole bunch of headlines from our past, and so that's really fun because we worked on this website for a long time, but it was all digital. Even millions of people are reading it. It doesn't feel, there's something about that print media, right? Yeah. And so there's a headline in the back of the book here. It's written by Mark Roebuck, one of our editors, and it's "Punk on Shark Tank wants $25 to make some pins." And I felt like that perfectly encapsulated the tone of the punk world and the ambitions that we have. Like, oh, we're going to go on a little DIY tour, we're going to make some pins. But I want to say right now I am looking for $25 to make some pins, if anyone has
That's
them.
the main pitch, is why we're here today. Is Matt's
Thanks for having us.
No problem.
Early investment in his pin business.
Yeah.
So what changes have you seen in the punk, rock, and underground music scene during, I guess, your careers?
We took over. That's a main one.
Yeah, I think the biggest change is the fact that people now reference if something weird happens at a show, they go, this is like a hard time story. So that's probably the biggest change, is that we've become part of the punk zeitgeist in that way.
You know what's weird about the punk scene is that a lot of stuff that happens in mainstream culture happens in the punk scene like 4 or 5 years earlier. So like the Me Too movement and all that sort of stuff, you could actually see that happening in the punk scene beforehand. So it's actually kind of funny because you can actually wait for the stuff to hit mainstream culture, and a lot of it does. So yeah, what's changed in the punk scene is you'll find out in like 4 or 5 years.
So you guys set the trend, I guess, or set the bar, and then everyone else just
We're a digital trend. I know you guys have the name, but we're a digital trend, okay?
Do you have any specific stories that you guys want to share about your experiences with, I guess, covering punk rock?
Do you have one, Bill?
It's tough to say. There's
maybe floor trends.
Yeah, we had a headline that we ran on our website, and it was just this band NoFX had a song called Linoleum. It's a very popular song that they have, and it was NoFX's Linoleum wins Floor Trends Magazine's best song for 25th year in a row. And Floor Trends Magazine then sent Matt a cease and desist letter saying, you are in violation of our copyrights, you're creating brand confusion. And all because they didn't quite get the joke. And mainly, I think we introduced a lot of people to the fact that Floor Trends Magazine even exists as a publication.
We didn't take that article down, though. We had to keep that one up. That made it more fun. Yeah.
Is there, I guess, because punk rock is always changing, is there any subgenre of punk rock that you guys truly don't like or despise?
Ooh, cyber goth is kind of a thing that I could deal without, which is any chance you watched The Righteous Gemstones that was on HBO? All right, it's like industrial goth EDM all mixed together in this weird cacophony of things that I'm just not interested in. So, and that could probably be on the very low levels of punk.
I used to have particular niches that I really liked and then others that I didn't. I became the music editor at SF Weekly for a brief amount of time, and I really tried to give everything a shot. So I don't think that there's that much that I just truly despise.
Is there any specific, I guess, time frame or specific genres that you really love then on the opposite
I
side?
like 1980s hardcore. I like New York hardcore. We had Killing Time play at our book release party. I like 80s DC stuff. I grew up in the Bay Area. 90s punk. I like Rancid. I like Operation Ivy. What about you?
There's the 80s stuff as well, and then there's a certain era of Boston hardcore from like 1999 to like 2005, which is kind of what I grew up in, which is always near and dear to my heart.
How has it changed since the new millennium? Because, myself, obviously 80s punk rock, you have, Bad Religion that, I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
But you see the transformation, I thought, into the 2000s, or maybe the early 90s, but 2000 definitely had a big shift in the way punk rock was seen.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
Well, I grew up, I was born in 91, so I was kind of a part of that 2000s punk stuff. I like some of it. I had an older brother who got me into punk, and I started listening to that 80s stuff. And I think when the 2000s were around and it was changing and street punk was more popular, I did have a studded leather jacket and stuff. But I actually started more in the bass roots of punk, listening to bands like Minor Threat, more than I listened to bands like Good Charlotte or New Found Glory or something like that. But as I got older, I actually went in reverse, and I started listening to those bands too. So I like Good Charlotte.
Yeah, it's interesting because for me...
I got to distance myself from that after that comment.
There we go, another big feud.
Oh, boy.
Is the floor trends, are the digital trends, is there like a ticker on the bottom that's like breaking, Hard Times founder likes Good Charlotte,
And New Found Glory.
site, stock, crashes. Yeah.
How about you, Bill?
I don't like Good Charlotte. I can say that on the record. Not a fan. I don't. As far as like how punk has changed, I've seen like it's weird that it's more festival oriented. I feel like there's still like the shows that you can go to in basements and stuff like that. But it seems for bands to make money and tour, they have to have those kind of like festival circuit things, and that's not really my. I could do without festivals.
Yeah, to me, it's like you have the big ones. I'm not sure, is Warp Tour still around? Or?
It just stopped.
It just stopped.
And I think we should take partial credit for that, because we ran a headline that was all Warp Tour stages need to be moved 100 feet away from the audience to comply with sex offender laws. And Kevin Lyman didn't love that one very much. And I think he stopped Warp Tour because of us and this book right here, Hard Times, the First 40 Years.
Now, in the changing media landscape, how does a website like yours grow its audience?
We've done it like all organically. We don't. So it's really people kind of still telling other people, like, hey, have you heard the Hard Times and stuff like that, or sharing it. We haven't paid for likes or anything like that.
No,
so
we started with $800 and just a couple of punk kids running a website, and then we expanded out into Hard Drive, which is a video game and technology and nerd website. And now we started a new company called Outvoice that helps publishers pay their freelance content creators in a way that helps them save time, money, reputation. So we're kind of always growing and growing, but we have really humble roots. $800, punk kids, no institutional backing. Our site is independently owned by the people who work at the site. So we grow organically.
You guys seem like you're very ambitious with all that's going on, so thank you. Where can I get the book?
You can get the book. They made 20,000 of these things. So thank you so much for having me on the show. I hope
Digital
you can
copy
sell.
too, I guess.
Yeah. There's also an audiobook that we had to do voiceovers
one
for.
that did accents apparently. So if anybody wants to hear me do a bad British accent and Matt not do one,
You can go to thehardtimes.net/book or any Barnes & Noble store and a lot of indie bookstores. So it's kind of everywhere. So hopefully people can go pick it up. If you have a weird nephew who wears too much black, he's kind of weird and off to the side at Thanksgiving, it's a perfect Christmas gift for
If
him.
you don't know what to get for that kid, this is the thing you buy for them.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. So if you guys want to learn more about any of the stuff we talked about here, it'll be up on our website, digitaltrends.com. And we're going to toss it back to Portland, over to you guys there. And Greg, thanks for having us.
All right, that is a great interview. I have just a couple of things to say. One, I am definitely going to be getting the book. Two, I got to side with Bill on this. I'm passing on the Good Charlotte. No Good Charlotte. That is 100% pass on that. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about what's coming up next week. So Digital Trends Live is here every single day, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions. You know that. Well, here's a couple of people that we're going to be talking to next week. We're going to have Jason Kim from Trigger to talk about mixed reality and 5G and what all of that could mean. I always love those conversations. Fascinating stuff. We've got Dan Rosenzweig, who's the host of a show on Crackle called Going From Broke, and it's about supporting millennials overcoming crippling debt. So he's going to be on the show to talk about what that is and how that's launching. I believe Ashton Kutcher actually produces that show. And then we'll have our own Adam Kaslikowski will be on here to talk about cars. We'll have all of our editors bringing you up to date and all the news that you can handle when it comes to technology, because this is the place to go to when you want to find out what's going on, the kind of tech that affects you. And from all different sides of it, it's always fun to talk about that. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. So again, hit that subscribe button. Always a great thing to do. Check out our podcast, Trends with Benefits, and Tech Briefs. You can listen to both of those wherever you get podcasts. Great ways to catch up on tech as well. And I think that's it for this week. So thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with more Digital Trends Live.